all, I want to thank the survivors who are here today, whose courage and strength have brought us to this moment.
When survivors came to Washington, D.C. in September, calling for the release of the Epstein Files, they were crystal clear about what that meant.
Why do we continue to cover up sexual abuse and assault?
We are not asking for pity. We are here demanding accountability.
It requires the Department of Justice release all the records related to Epstein and Maxwell investigations.
We're going to get a vote today.
On the day of the vote in November, they said it again.
Nothing should be off limits in the search for truth. Please vote that everything in the files be released.
But while some politicians called that the first day of real reckoning for the Epstein class, many of these women were skeptical. And they were right to be. A Channel 4 News investigation today reveals that all those pictures, emails, videos and messages released by the Department of Justice, said to be over 3 million pages, may amount to just a fraction of the Epstein material obtained by investigators. Why do we think that? Because these raids on Epstein's properties, his Florida mansion in 2005, and his fancy New York townhouse and sprawling luxury island in 2019 saw dozens of devices, computers, hard drives and servers bagged and tagged and brought to FBI offices for examination. Now, emails examined by Channel 4 News show investigators discussing those very devices. From the earliest stages, investigators were talking about Epstein's data totaling many, many times what has so far been released. In June 2020, one wrote, "We expect the data to be somewhere around 20 to 40 terabytes, noting that the total capacity of the devices was up to 50 terabytes. Then as recently as last year, long after the investigations into Epstein and his associates had ended, the figures quoted remained massive. We're looking at a total of approximately 14.6 terabytes of archived data, said another email. To put that in context, it is almost 15,000 gigabytes. But now, a year on from that, the total data released, claimed to be some 300 gigabytes, accounts for just 2% of the total Epstein data that officials were discussing just last year. Under the Epstein Act, DOJ attorneys had to look through all files to find any responsive material that related to Epstein, his networks and crimes. They claimed that 6 million pages had been identified, including duplicates. They released over 3 million. Both those numbers are tiny compared to the amount collected, according to today's emails. But earlier this month, the Deputy Attorney General suggested we should not expect more.
This review is over.
And yesterday, his boss added this about Donald Trump.
He is the most transparent president in the nation's history.
A performance that angered Pam Bondi's political opponents.
You're running a massive Epstein cover-up.
But was also not good enough for the survivors lined up behind her. This week, Lisa Phillips and Lara Bloom McGee, speaking in her first television interview, told me they know there is more to come, much more.
Do you think the administration has delivered what you wanted?
Absolutely not. No. We asked for all the files to be delivered, and all the files have not been delivered.
Do you believe from what you have seen that there remain redacted names in those files that we have no idea about?
Yes. Yes.
Well, luckily it's moving forward a little bit. A few members of Congress have seen the unredacted, you know, and the looks on their faces like this is bad.
There's more, and also you have to realize that there's files that have not even been presented yet.
And Epstein recorded everything in his home, so where's that video footage?
Do you think you'll get that?
I mean, that would be I think that's the missing piece of the pie.
In fact, Channel 4 News yesterday revealed spy cam-style footage recorded in Epstein's Florida home. Today's emails go further. They show glimpses of a struggle between US investigators and prosecutors in 2020, not only about the amount of data, but also how to handle it. Many files are too large to open, says one email. There are many files that are completely invisible to us. We're sifting through more than 1 million documents without much rhyme or reason, says another. A third uses this vivid metaphor. Imagine if we had seized the papers from approximately 100,000 filing cabinets. Then that all just got dumped in one big pile. Documents that had multiple parts stapled together got separated. And then any of those documents that was larger than 100 pages couldn't be opened. That's what we've got. Yesterday, survivors returned to Washington, D.C., hopeful, but still with more questions than answers. And today's revelations only add to their doubt that while progress may be underway, something big is still missing. You know, I think this goes to the heart of why so many survivors feel unsatisfied, confused even, by the Epstein Files. The amount released sounds like a lot, over 3 million pages or 300 gigabytes, but you know, the truth is we do not know how much the Department of Justice took in because they haven't told us. We don't know if some of those servers were empty or unreadable because they haven't said. And what these emails uncovered by the Channel 4 News investigations team suggest is that it may be much more. And that chimes with how survivors feel, because the truth is, even if what we've seen paints a dark and sinister picture, I'm standing here in 2026 talking to you about a scandal that began to unfold in the 1990s. And where is the criminal accountability? Epstein dead in jail and one woman serving 20 years. Beyond that, there really hasn't been very much at all.
Anushka in Washington, thanks very much indeed. Well, Liz Oyer spent 3 years as a senior lawyer in the US Justice Department. I spoke to her earlier and asked whether she was surprised by Channel 4 News' findings.
It doesn't surprise me because there has been a lot of misinformation given by this Justice Department about the state of the Epstein Files.
I mean, the scale of this is staggering. It's also really chaotic, isn't it?
It is chaotic. It's chaotic for a number of different reasons. One is that this Justice Department does not seem to have taken the time to really investigate and figure out what the universe of information is, what needs to be collected, and what should appropriately be disclosed. And two is that it appears that there are multiple competing agendas that seem to involve protecting various people, preventing humiliation of people in high-level government positions, and all of that has really caused a crisis of credibility for the Justice Department.
Of course, there are people accusing the Trump administration of dragging its heels, but equally one could say that the Biden administration, released nothing at all. I mean, virtually nothing at all, even though Virginia Giuffre in 2019, the late Virginia Giuffre, was asking for the files to be released. So is there a story here that doesn't just involve this administration, but also the previous one?
There are multiple administrations who can be fairly criticized for their handling of this issue. What's different right now is that we have a large group of victims who have come forward and asked for justice here. We have a law that has been passed that requires the Justice Department now to release these documents.
But even if only 2% of the files have been released so far, it is better than the 0% that were released, in the previous years.
It does not appear that there are any efforts by the leadership of the Justice Department to seek any accountability for the many men whose names appear in these documents. There has been a statement by the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, that he does not believe there's any basis to bring any additional charges against anyone implicated in these files. And that's quite surprising. So I don't think that anyone, the survivors or the public, will find what's come out of this satisfying.
And what do you think in terms of the victims? I mean, obviously, their foremost mission here is to get justice. When you flood the zone with so much chaotic information, does it make justice more or less likely, do you think, at the end of the day?
One of the most concerning developments is that we seem to be making backward progress in some respects. Jeffrey Epstein's partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell, was prosecuted and sentenced to 20 years in prison just a few years ago in 2022. And now she is actively lobbying for clemency from the president to try to get out from under her prison sentence by providing information that reportedly would exonerate Donald Trump from any culpability in in connection with Jeffrey Epstein.
And possibly get out of jail free while implicating Trump's political enemies.
Yes, that's exactly right. It seems like there are two goals that Blanche and Trump have, which is for Maxwell to implicate Trump's enemies and Maxwell to exonerate Donald Trump. And the fact that the Deputy Attorney General, who's one of the highest level officials in the Justice Department, is even dealing with her is really quite disturbing and unusual.
We heard lawmakers on Capitol Hill yesterday, mostly Democrats, but even some Republicans, saying that this amounts to a cover-up by the administration. Do you think that this is perhaps more than a cover-up? It's retribution.
It certainly seems like there is a cover-up at play here. All of the behavior of the Deputy Attorney General is highly unusual, and the fact that we're even having these discussions about some potential clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell is just so shockingly out of the norm and unusual that it certainly suggests that there are some ill motivations at play here and that this administration is not being transparent.
Liz Oyer, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.